Hello, everyone. Welcome to Durrett's Take, and let's get started. So, we have a lot of preseason games that I want to go over because I want to do the one sentence phrase or summary for each game. But since we have the Jags and Saints tonight, I'm going to wait until my next podcast to go over that. So, for this podcast, I know football is the season right now, but I'm actually going to go over some NBA talk. So, the Vegas lines came out for this upcoming NBA season. And I'm going to read, and I'm sorry I don't have a graphic, so I have to read it off to you, but here's what Vegas has. So they have the Nets, the over-under there's 54.5, Bucks 53.5, Lakers 51.5, Jazz 51.5, Sixers 51.5, Suns 50.5, Warriors 48.5, Nuggets 47.5, Mavs 47.5, Heat 47.5, Celtics 46.5, Hawks 46.5, Clippers 44.5, Blazers 43.5, Pacers 42.5, Knicks 41.5, Bulls 41.5, Pelicans 40.5, Hornets 37.5, Raptors 36.5, Kings 35.5, Timberwolves and Wizards are both 33.5, and then Spurs are 29.5, and then Cavs are 26.5, and then Pistons are 25.5, and then the Magic and Thunder are the bottom two with 23.5. So, Vegas is usually smart. When they come out with odds and stuff, they don't want to keep on being wrong because they want to make it, a good gambling type of tool. So Vegas is not going to, just throw a line out there, just a line. They're going to be pretty smart about it, logical about it. So there's going to be a lot of stuff that you can see they're being right on, and there's some stuff that I see that's a little bit off, but I'm like, okay, I can see how they got there. But then there's a few things I'm just like, okay, I don't understand how they got there. I got to call them out on this. And I'm going to go over three scenarios when I think they got it wrong. Now, if you're a betting person, I'm not, but if you're a betting person, you can bet on what I'm about to say. But if for some reason I'm wrong and it fails, then don't blame me. That's all I got to say about that. So my first issue is they only have Chicago at 41.5. So compared to the other East teams, that would be ninth place. So they'd be in the playing game, but like be on the road for the playing game. And for me, I don't understand that. You got to clearly bet the over here. Now, I don't expect Chicago to be, despite all the free agent acquisitions, I don't expect it to be, top three team or get to the East Conference Finals. Like, I'm not saying they're going to jump to that type of level quite yet, but they can be at least over 500 minimum and maybe win a first round playoff series. We know Bulls coach Billy Donovan, former Thunder head coach. We know when he has talent, he's a really good coach. And now you go from having two All-Stars in Levine and Vucevic to now adding good pieces like Lonzo Ball, veteran DeMar DeRozan, Alex Caruso. You still have other good bench players like Kobe White and Patrick Williams that are young. So I just don't see what Vegas sees here. Like, I feel like that you should clearly bet the over. I would go over, but I'm surprised they have it at 41.5. Another one that surprised me is Charlotte at 37.5. Again, I go the over here. Charlotte replaced Graham with Kelly Oubre Jr., so I feel like that's going to balance out. But they had a good draft. They got another shooting guard in the draft who could score, and then they got some more rim protection in the draft, which they desperately needed since they didn't have a lot of good big men. But then the big thing is that if Gordon Hayward's healthy, I know it's a big if with him, but if he can stay healthy, Charlotte in the East is a playoff team. Remember, it was when Hayward was out for the rest of the season when they were like in the play scenario, because they were actually like fourth or fifth, but then when Hayward was done for us, they fell all the way to 10th, and that's why they didn't finish above 500. But I think they can at least hit 500 here. So for me, I would bet the over here. And then the last one may come as a shock, but I would bet the under for the New Orleans at 40.5. I know you got Zion, Brandon Ingram, Graham, he just came over, Valanciunas, there's some good pieces. Not saying they're like the Thunder, have mostly nobody. But you got a rookie head coach, so it kind of take time to get used to another system for the Pelicans. It's their third head coach in 3 years. Plus, with the unhappiness of Zion's camp, you might have that hanging over the franchise. Plus, they don't have as much depth as the other teams are in a loaded Western Conference. So for me, it's like I would take like a team like Sacramento to be 10th, over New Orleans at this point. So that's why I would go over the end here. And if I had to throw a wild card in there, I think Celtics 46.5 might be a little bit too much, but we'll see about that. So again, for Chicago, go over 41.5. Charlotte, go over 37.5. And New Orleans, go under 40.5. So we'll see what happens here. I mean, they basically, I feel like for the most part they got here, like people may say 47.5 for the Nuggets a little bit low, but because Jamal Murray should probably miss at least half the season there, that's why I'm okay with that. And then for the Clippers at 44.5, since they're going to miss for Kawhi for most, if not all, the season, that's why I'm fine with that as well. Knicks, some Knicks fans may say 41.5 is a little bit low, maybe, but I mean, the Eastern Conference just got better. Chicago getting better, Miami getting better, Hawks, proving their worth. So I'm fine with that for now. So yeah, it'll be kind of interesting to see what happens here for the NBA season. And then for my other topic, I've been meaning to go over this for a long time, but I haven't. But I want to go over my top 20 NBA players as of right now. So number one, I have LeBron James. But honestly, in this case, it could be a 1A and 1B with Kevin Durant. Like, they're kind of near on the same level, in my opinion. But LeBron James, before he got injured, he was putting MVP like in numbers, and he was getting votes for MVP. But it wasn't until he got injured that, the conversation died. And then even in the playoffs, he rose up 2-1. And once AD went down, the Lakers faltered. Because, see, unlike Brooklyn, when KD was kind of playing by himself, Brooklyn, KD's like 5 years younger than LeBron, so and he's always been more of a scorer than LeBron, so he can put up more points. But then also, Brooklyn actually, they didn't have as deep a bench. They actually had a better bench than the Lakers last year. That's how bad the Lakers bench was. So I feel like that's why, I'm not going to dethrone LeBron necessarily, but, Kevin Durant's around his heel, they're like neck and neck. So if LeBron, has another season where he, like, the Lakers are healthy, but yet they get bounced out in the first or second round or something like that, and KD goes on to at least get to the finals, and then LeBron would have to fall under. But right now, I'm going to keep them 1A and kind of 1B, and that third is Giannis, obviously, because he just won the chip. Fourth, I would have to say Kawhi Leonard. I know he has the injury history and all that, but before he got injured, he was just, for the most part, he was dominating the playoffs. Mostly on the offensive end, but then when he had to, then he stepped it up on the defensive end. Like, for example, like Luka was going off, and then like in Game 7, you like put the clamps down on Luka, and that's how they were able to overcome the Mavs in that series. So I feel like because of his defense, that's why he gets the fourth spot. And then fifth, I'm gonna go with Luka. Now, some of you may say, no. What about Steph Curry? What about stuff? But Luka, as you saw in the Olympics, and then even in the playoffs, he was a one-man show. Porzingis did nothing. Tim Hardaway Jr. Played well, but he's not a second banana. He's more of a third banana. So he's literally doing this by himself, and he took the Clippers, the most deepest team in the league, to 7 games. Steph Curry would not have been able to do that by himself because Steph Curry couldn't even get to the playoffs by himself. So that's why Luka's above Steph as right now. Plus Luka, when he could do so much else on offense and besides shoot. That's why I'm gonna go Luka there. And this sticks to Steph Curry, obviously, because of his shooting. I mean, it's good. I mean, for the Warriors, I know they're disappointed they didn't make the playoffs, but I mean, to get to the playing scenario and have a chance, it's good enough without Klay Thompson. So if Klay Thompson can come back healthy, then the Warriors should be good. Seventh, I'm gonna go with Joel Embiid. Again, I know the injury history and all that, but when he's healthy, you can make an argument with Giannis and everything, but he's one, if not the best big man in the game. Eighth, I'm going to go with James Harden. Again, before he got injured in the playoffs, and I guess towards the end of the regular season, he was dominating because he wasn't being that ball hog like he was in Houston. He was dishing out, making assists, making the right plays, getting everyone involved. And when KD was out, and sometimes Kyrie was out, it was just a one-man show with him in Brooklyn. He was still putting on the goods and doing well. He was playing at the best I've ever seen before the injury. So that's why I have him eighth. Ninth is the former MVP, Nikola Jokic. The way he was able to carry Denver when Jamal Murray went down and actually lead them to a playoff win against Portland, before losing to the Suns. That was very impressive. And then 10, obviously Damian Lillard, with his scoring and all that. He's just I feel like this will be his last year in Portland. But hopefully he goes to more of a contender next year. But we'll see what he does. I mean, he still has a bright future ahead. In my opinion, he's the best clutch shooter in the game right now. 11th. Now you can go a lot of different directions here from 11 and 20. It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to predict after this because the top 10 are pretty established. But this is kind of team players that can make a case for whatever position you want to put them in. For me, I'm going to put Donovan Mitchell at 11th right now. First of all, he led the Jazz to the #1 overall seed, and then both last year's playoffs and then this past season's playoffs. He was there's those players they could just flip a switch in his playoff time. That's exactly what he did. And for this one, it was coming off injury. Flipped the switch and was very good in the playoffs. And then obviously when he got re-injured, then it was hard. But even then, he still performed very well. So I feel like Donovan Mitchell deserves to be that top dog right now, as far as this group goes. Next, I'm gonna go with Jason Tatum. Again, I'm not really counting this playoff performance much because he had no help, with Jaylen Brown being out and all that. But Tatum still put up a 50-piece game, and then in the playoffs, mostly every year we always see him perform. He took LeBron, 7 games in the Eastern Conference Finals one time, and actually he was able to make the Eastern Conference Finals twice. So I feel like Jason Tatum is just good all player. He can continue to ascend and become even better. 13 is Devin Booker. Was just in the finals. And some people say, hey, he should be over Mitchell and Tatum since he was just in the finals. But it's just like because the reason why I'm knocking him behind Mitchell Tatum is because I feel like as a passer, he still has a lot of room to prove that. Yes, he can score, but him being a ball hog, is kind of problematic in the finals, and I feel like the ultimate demise of them losing. So I feel like Devin Booker really needs to develop that passing game, and dribbling game if he wants to, take that next step and not just be known as a scorer only type of guard. Next, I'm going to go with Paul George. Now, he was lower on the list, but because of what he did this past playoffs, that's why he gets elevated in this list, because he took it to the next level after having a horrible playoff performance in the bubble. And now he can help carry this team to the playoffs once again. Now, if Kawhi is going to be out, of course, he's not going to do anything more. Anything more in the playoffs is gravy, but at least with him by himself, with a deep team like Clippers, he can be a #1 on a playoff team, no doubt. He showed that last time. 15 is Trae Young, obviously, what he was doing, guiding his team to these conference finals. Now, I feel like he got very lucky because the Knicks is a good first round opponent to play since they had no scoring. And then the next round, the 76ers blew multiple, 15, 20 plus leads. But then not only that, but also because, Ben Simmons' horrible free throw shooting and Embiid, playing through an injury, they definitely got a break there. And they even got a break when Giannis went out, but sadly they couldn't take advantage of that. Mainly because Trae Young went down. But I feel like, Hawks are going to be here for the long haul. And then if they can just find that, another, true like second player, then the Hawks can get to the next level. 16, Kyrie Irving, he was like he was a very good player, the 50-49 type of guy. Good free throw shooter, good 3-point shooter, shot high percentage. He's inconsistent, as far as when he decides to play or not. But if Kyrie Irving was playing, then that's what probably won the finals. So he's that important. He played that well. 17, Bradley Beal. He carried. I mean, I know Westbrook in a way carried the Wizards to the playoffs, but Bradley Beal also carried the Wizards to the playoffs as well. And without Westbrook this time and a bunch of pieces from the Lakers, he's going to have to kind of do that again. And I feel like he can become the scoring champ this time, like he was close to being last year. 18, Chris Paul. Obviously, what he did in the playoffs, finally getting to his first finals, is a big milestone for him. What he was able to do there and changing the Phoenix culture from, okay, you're a bubble playoff team, to now, bam, Western Conference Finals just like that. So that's very good for Chris Paul, and he still has some game left in him, despite his old age. 19 is Zion Williamson. I like what Zion Williamson did this year. Now, too bad he doesn't have a lot of help around him, but he's definitely an all-star type player, and he proved that this year. Despite playing his style game, he can still, put up, Shaq-like numbers and do really well. And 20 can kind of go either way here. I'm just going to go Klay Thompson just because he's a top 20 player. Now, I have to see him coming back off of injury. If he doesn't come off injury well, then he'll bump out, put someone else in. But if he can come back off injury well, then I'm going to keep him in the top 20 for now. So those are my top 20 players. And again, like I said earlier, those are my biggest takeaways from the Vegas lines for the upcoming NBA season. Please subscribe to my channel. Tell everyone about me. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.